Hello, it's Sarah Jane from Cards and a Cuppa. I'm here today with a new tutorial for you, and those of you that have visited my channel or blog before will probably wondering why I've got these two cards in front of me to start with, because I've already done a video on these. These use the inlaid die cutting technique, which makes them completely flat, apart from a few little additions of perfect accents on there. But they've been really popular and I really enjoyed making them. So I was making a Christmas card the other day and I designed this one. You can find this on my blog. It's simply punch circles stuck over the top of each other, so it's a great way of using up scraps of paper or showcasing the really cute images that are on this Home for Christmas designer series paper. But as I was making it, I realised that it would lend itself really well to the inlaid die cutting technique. So obviously it doesn't use a die, so I decided to make inlaid die cutting without dies, and this is the card I came up with. As you can see, these circles here, apart from these two which I've raised on dimensionals, but all the rest are inlaid into the card front. And so while I was at it, I decided to have a go and see if it would work with the Petite Petals punch and Pretty Petals designer series paper, which it did. So I designed these two cards, and I'm going to show you how I make with this one, how to achieve the inlaid look without dies. And as this is a bonus video, because I didn't do one last week because I was away on my holidays, I'm going to show you a really quick and easy way of making the inlaid die cuts. I suppose it should be inlaid punches really, but this one's quite time consuming, as is this one, because you've got to punch and then stick before you punch again each flower or circle. But this one is a much quicker way, so I'll show you that one at the end. So let's get started. Now I'm using the Home for Christmas designer series paper. This is thick Whisper White cardstock, and I've got a selection of circle punches. It doesn't matter what size punches you've got. Obviously you can do this with circle dies if you've got them, and you're probably better off to refer to my original video if that's what you want to do. So here's my circle punches. I've already punched out my pattern paper. I'm just going to move that out of the way. I've already punched out my paper for speed, because I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch me punch out a few circles. So what I'll have to do is refer to the punches to double check the sizes. But first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my this is Always Artichoke marker, and just go around the edges of the paper just to get rid of any white edges, so that it just makes it pop once it's on the card. So I use any dark colour would work. You could use smoky slate or basic grey, or if you just want to use the same pen for all your papers, or if you've got all the markers or most of the markers, just pick a darker colour like a dark green, or even cherry cobbler would work for the greeny coloured ones. And then I'm just going to use Pool Party on the bluer papers. So notice I'm keeping my nib of my pen up, as well as the image that I want to show on the paper facing up as well. That way if you slip, like I did, if you slip, the pen will run underneath it, so you won't have that spoiling the paper that you want to show. Okay, so in my inlaid die cutting video I shared with you that I keep the offcuts from when I'm cutting down my Whisper White card layers. Not all of them, but you know, I always keep a little stash just tucked away in a pot here, ready for things like this. So that's a great way of using up scraps without having to cut into a whole sheet of white card just for some stuff to go at the back. So I'm going to work left to right, and I'm going to start with the 1 3/4 inch circle punch and this holly design. So all I'm going to do is punch a half circle, I suppose, of this, and then I'm just going to measure to make sure it covers at least sort of, I don't know, maybe a centimetre either side of the widest area. So let's turn it over, and then what I do is just add a bit of glue over there and stick it onto this white card. Now don't press down, because otherwise you're going to get glue all over your grid paper. But what you want to try and do is line up excuse me, line up the edges with the top layer, so that it's well supported along this edge, especially as we're only going to do this white layer. So position your holly paper in the gap, and that's your first one done. So then we'll do the bauble paper next, which is, yeah, it's 1 1/2 inch circle. So I'm gonna just punch that. Make sure you get some of the previous circle in, and then we're just going to repeat all the way along. So add some glue. I'm not going to make you watch me do this for every single one, because it's quite repetitive. I think the end result is worth it myself. I think it makes a really nice design. Okay, so I've punched and inlaid all of the circles that I want to. Obviously they've ended up in different places. The chances of you making 2 cards exactly the same ever are pretty slim, but I quite like that about that. That's probably one of the best things about card making, right? So now what I'm going to do is trim these end pieces, and the best way to do that is to flip it over and cut from the back. That way you can use your card edge as a guide, which is another reason why you put this edge right across the line. So that's your card trimmed. Now these extra little ones, what I'm going to do is stick them on with dimensionals. Now for this one, I'm going to share with you a little technique, because I want to make it fit in next to the Santa. So this is a 1 3/4 inch circle. So we're going to take this, which is a 3/4 inch circle, and just sort of roughly do it from the bottom corner, let's say, and just nip away that corner. Now using a post-it note just helps you get it into the punch easily, so that's my little tip for you. Now I'm just going to stick a dimension on the back of that, stick this Santa, who is ice skating I believe, although I've chopped his legs off, and add him here, and then pop his little present. I'm just going to ink the edge of that where I've punched it before I do it. There we go. I'm just going to make that fit around the edge there. Let's move that round a bit because the present's not that straight there. You can do this if you move your image quickly, because after not very long your dimension will be stuck in the little tea paper. That's better. That just makes your present straight. Okay, so all we're going to do now is add a little sentiment. This "'Tis the Season" is from, oh, I don't know. Okay, I'll find out what stamp set this is from. I think it's the Pines one. And probably excuse my head. Okay, and there's the sentiment. That's stamped in garden green. And then I'm just going to add a few perfect accents. Now, I was quite excited to find that the perfect accents are now in cherry cobbler, green and cream. So that certainly makes Christmas cards a lot easier. I'm just going to add a couple of these. Same method as I used before, which is bend and peel rather than try to scrape them off the plastic. That way you don't take the backing off the dome at the top. And then a couple of white perfect accents as well. So here's a couple of rhinestones just for a bit of bling. Okay, and now I'm just going to add this straight now onto a thick Whisper White card blank. Now when you do this, you need to make sure that you go right to the edges, and also stick these bits of paper here. Make sure there's glue on these papers, because obviously they're not stuck to anything at the back, and that'll just stop them lifting up once it's stuck down. You don't want to try and get a bit of glue in there if they start to rise up a bit. Now, if you didn't put, you probably could get away with this as a thin postage in the UK. You definitely would if you didn't add these two with dimensionals. If you just inlaid them into the thing, and then instead of rhinestones and perfect accents, you could add glitter glue. And then you would definitely make a card that would go through the post cheaply. So that's my, just use the glue eraser because we're being fiddly with the glue. Sometimes you do get a bit on the front. When it's dry, just rub it off with this glue eraser. Love this glue eraser. And there's your inlaid die cut card without dies. So I hope you've enjoyed that little tutorial. Don't go yet, because I'm going to show you a much quicker way of getting an inlaid die cut look without dies using these stars. So if you need a card in a hurry but you like the inlaid die cut look, then we can work with that too. So all we've got is, this is standard Whisper White, and I've got the little star punch, and I've got Tip Top Top ink pad and a star from Be the Star. These ones would also work quite well. So all I've done, and it's much quicker to do it like this, is just punch out 4 stars. I did 5 on that, but that's alright, 4 works too. Now, before you do anything else, just add a little bit of stamping in between so that it overhangs the stars that you've just punched out. I'm just going to do another one up there, just to, that's hanging off the edge. And then, because you've already done all the work, I didn't even bother to ink the edges of these. I am going to stick that one across the top edge for support, as that one. But that one I can just stick a large piece covering both. Trim the edges right before. Add a couple of tiny silver glimmer paper stars just for a bit of bling. And there's your inlaid die cut card in a hurry. Now this will work with any shape. I recommend not using something that is directional. So if you've got a flower punch, for example, that is a certain way up, much too complicated if you want it in a hurry. So the petite petals is a great one to use. Obviously a star or circles, square if you've got it, maybe. Do the squares down the side like this. So anyway, I hope you have a go at these inlaid punch technique, and if you do, don't forget to share them with me, and thanks for looking today.